Hey, you. So, Hong Kong, right? That electric mix of East meets West, a real hub for business.
Hmm.
You're probably buzzing with the possibilities, maybe a little pin. Curious about what it's really like to navigate day to day,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to, feeling secure.
Absolutely. And that's precisely what we're diving into today. We're tapping into the deep well of experience from moveandstay.com.
Right.
For over 25 years, they've been the go-to resource for folks like you, business travelers and expats getting settled in Asia.
Wow, 25 years. That's a lot of experience.
It really is. So think of this as your insider's briefing on staying safe and confident in Hong Kong.
Exactly. We've distilled their expat safety guide for Hong Kong, aiming to give you those essential insights and practical tips.
Yeah.
Our goal is that by the end of this, you'll feel not just informed, but truly prepared to experience Hong Kong with real peace of mind, ready to unpack what it's like on the ground, safety-wise.
Let's do it. What's fascinating to start with is Hong Kong's solid foundation as, well, a pretty safe city.
Oh.
When you stack it up against other major international hubs, it consistently shows lower crime rates. That's a significant comfort factor right from the outset.
That's definitely good news,
Sure.
comforting. But like anywhere, I'm guessing there's more to the story than just low stats.
Exactly. Low crime doesn't mean no crime. While serious stuff is rare, it's the more everyday occurrences that you'll want to be mindful of.
Like what, specifically?
Petty theft, particularly pickpocketing, tends to be the most prevalent issue. Think those bustling markets, crowded tourist attractions,
Yeah.
and especially when you're using public transport during peak hours.
Right, the MTR at rush hour, I imagine.
Precisely. So, keeping an extra eye on your belongings in those busy spots is key.
Okay, what about if something more serious were to happen? Though you say it's rare.
Thankfully, violent crime is not a common occurrence. And it's worth noting that Hong Kong benefits from a highly efficient and responsive police force.
That must help.
It certainly contributes to the overall sense of safety that many residents and visitors experience, even when walking around at night.
That feeling of safety at night is often a good indicator, isn't it? But are there any particular nuances to that? Any caveats?
Well, while many feel secure walking at night in well-lit areas, exercising common sense is always the best approach, just like you would in any city, really.
Sure.
Being aware of your surroundings, maybe avoiding poorly lit or deserted streets late at night, it's just prudent. Now, if we think about some of the factors that make Hong Kong unique,
Right. What are some of those distinctive elements that impact safety? Things specific to Hong Kong.
well, the political climate in Hong Kong has evolved in recent years.
Yeah.
This naturally raises questions for anyone considering spending time there about how it might affect their safety and daily life.
It's definitely something people are considering, something that's in the news.
Yes.
What's the practical advice on navigating that?
Staying informed about current events is paramount. This means being aware of the possibility of demonstrations or protests. While these events aren't always associated with violence, they can lead to disruptions like road closures and, an increased police presence in certain areas.
So it's more about potential logistical challenges than necessarily personal risk in most situations. Is that fair to say?
That's generally the case, yes. However, the best course of action is always to avoid areas where demonstrations are taking place. Just minimize any potential for inconvenience or unintended involvement.
Makes sense.
More broadly, it's essential to stay up to date on local laws and regulations through reliable local news sources and official government announcements. Just be aware.
Being informed seems to be a recurring theme. Okay, now shifting slightly. The global health situation has been on everyone's radar for a while. What specific COVID-19 considerations are there in Hong Kong right now?
Hong Kong has generally managed the pandemic effectively, but the situation can evolve, so it's crucial to check the very latest guidelines issued by the Hong Kong government.
Before you go, and while you're there.
Absolutely. These could cover things like mask-wearing requirements, social distancing measures, maybe temperature checks, and depending on the global situation, potential vaccine requirements or quarantine measures for arrivals. Things can change.
So definitely a pre-trip checklist item and something to monitor while you're there. Good advice. And on the topic of health generally, what should someone know about the healthcare system there?
Hong Kong offers a high standard of healthcare, which is great news.
Good.
However, it's structured with both public and private options. Public healthcare is generally more affordable,
Okay.
but it can involve longer waiting times for non-emergency procedures. Private healthcare offers quicker access, but naturally comes with higher costs.
Right. So that leads to...
Comprehensive health insurance, it's really vital. You don't want to be caught out.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've got a sense of the broader safety picture. Let's dive into some really actionable tips. What are the top things our listeners should keep in mind for their personal safety day-to-day in Hong Kong?
First and foremost, cultivate strong situational awareness.
Okay.
It sounds simple, maybe even obvious, but it's incredibly effective in preventing many issues. Pay attention to what's happening around you,
Especially where?
especially in those crowded environments we discussed, markets, MTR, tourist spots, and also when you're out in the evening. Be mindful of your belongings and try to avoid walking alone in dimly lit or unfamiliar areas if possible.
Kind of like having your radar on, just being switched on. What's another key piece of advice?
Given that petty theft is the most common concern, proactively securing your belongings is essential. Keep your valuables out of sight. Don't have your phone or wallet sticking out of a back pocket, for instance.
Yeah, basic stuff, but easy to forget.
Exactly. When you're out and about, ensure your bags are properly closed. Maybe consider using a crossbody bag, harder to snatch.
Good tip.
And at your accommodation, even if it feels super secure, always lock doors and windows. It's also a good idea to think about contents insurance,
Ah, yes.
and maybe even keep a record of the serial numbers of your valuable electronic devices, just in case.
Smart, practical steps. What about if an emergency does occur, despite precautions?
That's when having emergency contacts immediately accessible is crucial. This includes the local emergency numbers. That's 999 for police, fire, and ambulance in Hong Kong.
999, got it.
And also have the contact details for your embassy or consulate, plus trusted individuals you might know in Hong Kong.
How best to keep those?
Program them into your phone, definitely. But also, maybe keep a written copy in your wallet or somewhere easily accessible, just in case your phone battery dies or something.
Good backup plan.
And as we touched on earlier, make sure you have appropriate expat insurance coverage in place. Medical insurance is key. Also, letting someone know your plans, especially if you're traveling alone, is always a wise precaution.
All very sensible. Now, Hong Kong's public transport is famous, isn't it? The MTR especially. How safe and easy is it to use from a safety perspective?
Hong Kong boasts a truly world-class public transport network. The MPR, the buses, they're incredibly efficient, frequent, and generally very safe for everyone.
The MTR is remarkably efficient. Any safety-specific tips for using it, besides the pickpocketing awareness?
Definitely get yourself an octopus card. It makes travel seamless. Just tap and go.
Essential.
Planning your routes in advance using the MTR or bus apps can also help you navigate more confidently, avoid looking lost.
Right.
And yes, as we mentioned before, just be extra mindful of your belongings, especially in those crowded carriages during peak times. Oh, and listen out for the Mind the Gap announcement when getting on and off the MTR. It's a simple but important safety reminder.
That iconic announcement. Okay, what about taxis? Are they a safe option?
Taxis are readily available and generally safe. Stick to the officially marked taxis. They're usually red in the main urban areas,
Okay.
green in the new territories, and blue out on Lantau Island.
Good to know the colors.
And crucially, ensure the driver uses the meter. If they don't start it or try to negotiate a fixed fare, it's probably best to just find another taxi. Having your destination written down in Chinese can be extremely helpful in avoiding any confusion, especially if you don't speak Cantonese.
That's a great practical tip.
And as an alternative, ride-sharing apps are also widely used and can be convenient.
Okay. We've talked about crowded public transport. What about generally avoiding crowded areas if you can, or being extra careful?
Precisely. Crowded places are unfortunately where pickpockets often operate. Whether it's during rush hour, at popular tourist sites, or even just busy shopping streets, it really pays to be extra vigilant.
So keep bags close.
Keep your bag close to your body again. Crossbody bags worn in front are a great deterrent. Be aware if someone bumps into you unexpectedly. Sometimes it's accidental, sometimes it can be a tactic.
Right, the distraction.
Exactly. If possible, maybe try to travel during off-peak times. And avoid openly displaying expensive items like fancy jewelry or the latest gadgets. Just be low-key.
Makes perfect sense. Common sense, really. Now, let's switch gears back to health and medical safety. We know the standard is high, but how does an expat typically access healthcare? You mentioned public and private.
Right. As we discussed, you have both public and private options. Public hospitals are an option, known for good care, but potentially longer waits for non-urgent things.
And the private.
For expats who often prefer quicker access and maybe more readily available English-speaking staff, Private hospitals and clinics are very commonly used. There are numerous private clinics throughout Hong Kong offering a whole range of general and specialist services.
So private care is often the preferred route for expats, it sounds like, which brings us back
Yep.
to
Health insurance.
the bottom line on that.
Comprehensive health insurance is absolutely essential. Don't skip this. Check if your international policy provides adequate coverage in Hong Kong. Really read the fine print.
Good point.
It's worth comparing different plans to find one that aligns with your specific needs and budget. Make sure it covers hospital stays, specialist consultations, emergency care, maybe even medical repatriation if that's important to you.
Okay.
Always carry a copy of your insurance card and maybe key policy details. And make sure you understand the claims process before you need it.
Being proactive about health coverage sounds critical. Absolutely. What about in an immediate medical emergency? What's the procedure?
In a medical emergency, the number to dial is 999 for ambulance services. Same number as police and fire.
999. Easy to remember.
Be prepared to clearly state your location and briefly describe this situation. Ambulance services are free for emergencies, which is good to know. It's also wise to know the location of the nearest hospital with an accident and emergency department and A&E. Just be aware of where that is relative to where you live or work.
Good local knowledge to have.
And, while we hope it's never needed, learning basic first aid and CPR. Those skills can be invaluable anywhere in the world.
So true. You never know when those skills might be needed. Okay, now let's talk about building a different kind of safety net, a support network. How crucial is that for someone settling into a new place like Hong Kong?
Oh, it's incredibly important for both your general well-being and just making the transition smoother.
Yeah, it can be lonely otherwise.
Exactly. Moving to a new country, no matter how exciting it is, can sometimes lead to feelings of isolation. Having a support network, friends, contacts can make a huge difference.
Where should someone start to build those connections? Where do you find people?
Connecting with other expats is often a natural first step. Seek out expat meetups and events. There are many organized through various online groups or community centers.
Like meetup.com or similar?
Yeah, things like that. Join online forums and social media groups specifically for expats in Hong Kong. These can be great for asking practical questions and finding community. Also, consider professional organizations related to your field, good for networking both socially and professionally.
What about connecting with the local Hong Kong community? Is that easy to do?
It might take a bit more effort, but it can really enrich your experience and provide a much deeper understanding of the local culture.
How?
Taking a language class in Cantonese or Mandarin is a fantastic way to connect and show respect. Volunteering for a local charity or joining local sports teams or hobby groups can also provide really meaningful interactions with locals who share your interests.
Getting involved, basically.
Exactly.
And we touched on it earlier, but how can social media specifically play a role in building this network?
Social media is a powerful tool these days. Join relevant Facebook groups. There are loads for expats in Hong Kong covering all sorts of interests. Explore community networking organizations online.
Okay.
Maybe follow local influencers and bloggers to get insights into daily life and events. And platforms like LinkedIn are obviously great for professional networking within Hong Kong.
It sounds like putting yourself out there and being open to different kinds of connections is really key. Good advice. Now, let's shift to understanding the legal landscape a bit more. What are some important things expats should know about local laws and regulations?
Yeah, having a basic understanding of local laws is crucial for avoiding any unintentional legal issues. You don't want to fall foul of something you just didn't know about.
Right.
While expats are generally subject to the same laws as residents, there can be specific considerations related to your visa status and employment.
So know your visa rules.
Absolutely. Familiarize yourself with the conditions of your visa and always keep copies of important documents like your passport and visa readily accessible, maybe digitally and physically. Also, understand your rights and responsibilities as an employee in Hong Kong.
Okay. And we discussed demonstrations earlier from a safety perspective. Are there any specific legal aspects to be particularly aware of in those situations?
Given Hong Kong's recent history with public assemblies, it's wise to be aware of the legal framework surrounding them. If you happen to be near a demonstration, the advice remains: stay calm and avoid any direct involvement. Don't get drawn in.
Just observe from a distance or leave.
Preferably leave the area. Keep an eye on local news and social media for information about planned protests and try to steer clear. Remember that laws regarding public assembly can differ significantly from your home country, so it's always best to err on the side of caution.
Okay.
Avoid any behavior that could be construed as provocative. And it's generally advisable not to take photos or videos of police activities during such events. Keep a low profile.
Clear and important advice. What about just everyday etiquette and customs? Less legal, more social rules.
Ah, yes. Showing respect for local customs will greatly enhance your experience and interactions in Hong Kong. It goes a long way.
Like what, for example?
Simple things like using both hands when giving or receiving business cards, it shows respect. Removing your shoes before entering someone's home is standard practice. And learning even a few basic Cantonese phrases like hello, ni hao, or thank you, mio duje, will be genuinely appreciated and can help build positive relationships.
Those small gestures can really make a difference, can't they? Shows you're making an effort. Okay, one last major area. Hong Kong is in a region that can experience certain natural events. What should our listener know about staying safe during those?
That's a vital consideration, yes. Hong Kong is indeed susceptible to natural events, particularly typhoons.
Right, typhoons, they happen reasonably often.
They're a regular occurrence during the typhoon season, which typically runs from about April to October, sometimes a bit longer.
So they're expected. How should people prepare?
It's essential to understand the Hong Kong Observatory's typhoon warning signal system. It ranges from signal number 1, which is basically a standby alert, up to the very severe hurricane signal number 10. Familiarize yourself with the recommended actions for each signal level. They usually involve staying indoors, securing windows, etc., as the number gets higher. Regularly monitor weather forecasts through the observatory's excellent website or mobile app.
And have supplies.
Definitely. Prepare a basic typhoon survival kit. Essentials like bottled water, non-perishable food, a first aid kit, a flashlight with spare batteries, and a portable charger for your phone.
Good list.
During a typhoon, the strong advice is to stay indoors and stay away from windows due to flying debris. Be aware of potential flooding, especially if you live in a low-lying area, and be prepared to evacuate if instructed by authorities.
That sounds like serious preparedness is needed, but it's manageable if you know the drill.
Mm.
What about earthquakes? Are they a big risk?
Hong Kong isn't located in a major seismic zone, thankfully. However, earthquakes originating elsewhere in the region can sometimes be felt.
So, less frequent, but possible.
Yes. If you experience an earthquake, the standard advice applies. Stay calm. Drop, cover, and hold on. Seek shelter under sturdy furniture or in a doorway. If you're outdoors, move away from buildings, walls, and power lines.
And afterwards?
After the shaking stops, check yourself and others for injuries, check for any obvious damage to your building, and be prepared for potential aftershocks.
Okay. And in any major emergency, typhoon, earthquake, anything else, what's the key to being prepared more generally?
Having a basic emergency evacuation plan is important, particularly if you live in an area that might be prone to flooding or even landslides, which can happen after heavy rain.
Know your risks.
Exactly. Identify the nearest designated emergency shelters and know the potential evacuation routes from your home and workplace. Keep important documents, passport, visa, insurance papers together in a waterproof bag, ready to grab.
Smart.
Make sure family members or housemates are aware of the plan. And just generally, be familiar with the local emergency services and how to contact them back to that 999 number.
So a really comprehensive approach to safety, covering everything from, everyday precautions like watching your wallet to preparing for more significant events like typhoons. It sounds like overall, Hong Kong offers a generally safe environment for expats who are informed and proactive.
That's really the core message, I think. Hong Kong is fundamentally a safe place. But like any major city, awareness and preparation are key. Stay alert, especially in those crowded places. Take sensible steps to secure your belongings and your accommodation, and ensure you know how to access help if you ever need it.
Absolutely. And considering MoveInStay.com's long history, that 25 years you mentioned of assisting people in Asia, it's clear that this knowledge isn't just about avoiding potential problems, is it?
No, not at all.
It's about empowering you, the listener, to feel more settled, more confident, and ultimately to be able to fully embrace the incredible experiences Hong Kong has to offer, whether you're there for a short business trip or settling in for a longer-term adventure.
Absolutely. Being prepared lets you relax and actually enjoy the place.
It really makes you think, doesn't it, about how feeling secure in a new culture, knowing the ropes, is so fundamental to truly making it feel like home, even temporarily.
It really is.
And how resources like MoveInStay.com, built on decades of experience, can be invaluable in building that sense of security and belonging right from the moment you start planning your move or trip. It's more than just finding a place to stay. It's about finding your footing.